Good morning, everybody. It is Thursday. I always have to look at the date, January 8th. I'm Jane Johnston with the Bar Hill Group at Remax Camosa, and welcome to the Victoria Real Estate Show with...
Hey, everybody. It's Andrew Plank with the 5 Real Estate Group. Did you say Thursday, January 8th?
18th.
18th. Thank you. Let's enunciate that one. Make sure we're clear. Yeah. So again, happy Thursday. And here we are. And it's snowing outside here in Victoria, which is a rare occurrence.
It's a perfect time to talk about moving south to Mexico.
Let's talk Mexican real estate. Absolutely. I'm sure a lot of people are thinking, what is with this stuff? And let's get out of here.
So here in Victoria, we get snow maybe for 1 week a year, and this is the week. I don't know if you can see it behind me, but it's like blowing.
Yeah.
And we have, what happens is we get a lot of rain, but if the temperature just drops just to about 0, then this is what happens.
Yeah, and then it turns Victoria to a standstill because nobody knows how to drive. And it's funny because I talk to people who are from outside of Victoria, and they're like, well, I don't have a problem with this. I can go drive in this. I'll be safe. And then I have to warn them, like, you will be driving fine, but there will be cars everywhere smashing into you.
Because nobody has snow tires here.
Yep, nobody's prepared for it. It comes every year and surprises everyone again every year. Oh my God, I wasn't expecting this.
So we have Rob Bailey is going to be coming to talk to us. He's with Keller Williams in Puerto Vallarta. And but first we're going to get in and do the statistics. So let's get going here. All right, so it's Thursday, January 18th, and we're going to be talking about investing in real estate. But first, just a mention that we do want your feedback. And if you like our show, please like and subscribe us. We are on YouTube. We'll give you the link at the end of the show. Don't forget to share this with people who you think may be interested. And comment. We'd love to hear what you have to say. And we will add your ideas to the show if necessary. Go ahead, Andrew.
Right. So in the last week, we had 219 new listings on the Victoria MLS system. 111 properties went pending. 51 property price decreases, 0 price increases. 4 properties came back to market, 104 sold, 44 expired, and 5 withdrawn. So our list to pending ratio looks like it's about 50-50 there. Pretty healthy. And yeah, so there's that. Definitely compared to the week before. Jane, do you want to talk the week before?
Sure. So we were at 49 pending. Obviously, we've doubled that. So the market's picking up. I do feel it's picking up. The price decreases are from people who haven't had any action, and they're trying to figure out how to get people into their house and get that listing sold. Generally, we are slow in January, but I do feel like we're having a quick start to this year. What do you feel?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do too. I saw your social media post about your first accepted offer of the year. I got mine as well.
Yay!
So yes, I think that things are starting to move, and definitely my phone has been blowing up. The emails have been coming in. The text messages are happening. People are getting prepped to do things.
We're having lots of discussions with potential sellers about getting their place ready. We've been having them since last year. We have a list of people that we're working with to get product ready. So I'm telling everybody, though, I really want to wait to see what the rate announcement is next week, and then we'll decide on listing price and strategy, finalize that.
That's an interesting one, because I had thought that all the pundits were saying that we would not be expecting another price increase or an interest rate increase. And it seems like maybe the Bank of Canada is positioning that they might still consider another one.
Yeah. So let's just see how things are going, and then we'll go from there. All right. So month to date for January 15th, this comes out every Monday. We have 95 net unconditional sales for January 2024 so far. That's compared to 32 last week and 278 last year. And new listings total for the month so far are 443. So we're looking pretty well on par or maybe a bit over the 804 compared to January of last year. And our total listings is 2,087. So we're up over last week in total by 81 listings and up over last year where we were at 1,739. So it's good.
Okay.
Lots of choice. All right, so we're going through this quickly because we have lots of questions for Rob. Let's bring him on, and I added a handy dandy little header here. Puerto Vallarta real estate with Rob. How are you doing, Rob?
Hello, thanks. Hi, Jane and Andrew. We're doing good. Good. Sun shining.
Yeah, absolutely. The first thing I
I
noticed
love that in there right off the bat.
when we bring you in is just how much paler
Our skin, you mean?
Yeah, how much more Canadian we are looking right now. Yes.
Well, you know what?
So Rob
it's actually easy to look like that here too when you're doing a lot of working a lot and you're just not getting out to the beach and that. And yeah, I made a point of a couple of weeks ago getting out and getting some sun. So we're trying to expose ourselves a little bit more as we've been busy. So
good for you.
So I put your contact information on here, but we will have it at the end in case people are interested in connecting with you. But
right.
First of all, the first question is, I read in your bio that you made the decision after visiting Puerto Vallarta for many years that you wanted to finally, we were like, I'm going to take the plunge. What was the thing that made you decide this is it, I'm going to move right now?
Well, there's a little bit more to that than just a straight easy answer. We'd actually been coming down for 8 years previously, my wife and I, and we would come down twice a year and spend anywhere from 3 weeks to a month each time, and mostly in Puerto Vallarta. And we kind of had this 5-year plan, out there that we would like to maybe relocate here. And, in that last year, one of the last years before moving here, we went over and, visited some other parts of Mexico and such, and just wanted to be solid on that Puerto Vallarta was our place. And it only took us about a day in each place to realize, no, Puerto Vallarta was for us. And, that could be for many reasons with, different people. But anyways, so we kind of had this 5-year plan, and I'll kind of just give you a little bit of a personal background of how we just kind of ended up doing it. And so the pandemic hit, that was tough on everybody. And, we hate to keep on talking about that, but it really did change a lot of things for a lot of people. And so when that started, my wife was involved in the fitness industry, managing 2 large gyms. And I was starting a new contracting business. I'd spent 27 years in Alberta and had moved back to BC in 2014. And I was starting another contracting business up there when that all happened. But in that first year, we had a lot of other personal challenges. Like I said, it was tough on everybody. But when that happened, my wife had a little bit of a fall, had a very serious herniated disc. Anyways, make a long story short about that is we waiting for surgery for her for 11 months for a complete spinal fusion, plates, screws, rods, the whole thing. But she was basically incapacitated for 11 months waiting for the surgery. And so in that time, I'm started a new contracting business, and of course I'm having to care for her. And I'd moved my father from the island out to closer to us in Maple Ridge, BC. And so on Christmas Eve, he slips, falls, breaks the socket right off his hip. That puts him into the hospital. And once he got out of the hospital, of course, he needed to be cared for. So he was way over in Langley and like South Langley. and it was in Maple Ridge. So I'm kind of going back and forth, taking care of these special people in my life. And then my mother passed away suddenly, and she passed away without a will. And if anybody's been through that, they know what that's like. And so it was kind of put on me to take care of all those arrangements. And during a pandemic, times that by 10, the difficulties. So all these kind of things happen. And then, a lifelong friend of my wife's, diagnosed and gone within 6 months of cancer. So there was just all these things that really impacted it. My wife came out of the surgery and she just said, you know what, you've been always the one, like, let's just go and do it. And she needed plan A, plan B, C, D, E, F, G. And she says, you know what, let's just do it. So that day that we decided, in 8 weeks, we sold absolutely everything, and including our home, which we sold completely furnished. Actually, the people that bought it, the wife came in there and loved absolutely everything. She basically said, take the pictures out of the frames and leave, because I love absolutely everything. So when we left, we were just locking the door and going away on vacation, because nothing was, everything was just left. So there we were, 6 suitcases and a cat, and we were leaving to Puerto Vallarta. And because of all the closures of the borders and canceled flights and everything, like 3 or 5 sets of flights we had canceled. And so how we got here
That's
is
a whole other.
we flew from Vancouver to Toronto to Panama,
Oh
to
my
Mexico
God.
City, to Puerto Vallarta to get here, because it was just time to go. We were, basically out of place. So there was a lot of factors that made us just go, you know what, the 5-year plan is out the door. Let's just do it. No regrets. Don't want to look back
Life is
and
short.
say shoulda, woulda, coulda.
Yeah.
And so that's what we did,
Mhm.
and ended up here, and yeah, just kind of winged it, actually.
And you
So
landed you'd come from being a contractor, and you landed in Puerto Vallarta as a real estate agent.
Yes.
Tell
Well,
me a little bit about that
I
journey.
was I've been in pretty much construction my whole life. I had contracting business in Alberta, and kind of went back into that in BC when I moved out there. And that's kind of what I thought I'd end up doing here. These two things have always gotten me out of trouble, and so that's what I thought I would do, is just go back into contracting. And I came down here and I did, start looking into it. Quoted a couple jobs, did another couple little, handyman kind of stuff, but quoted a couple other jobs. And I was really going to focus, obviously, on the expat community, because you cannot just you cannot compete with the labor prices down here.
yeah.
But I even found that challenging. And then once I got into it, I thought, geez, is this actually what you want to do? You've been, busting your back, how many years, and is this actually what you want to do? And on top of it, in this heat, right?
Mhm.
So, kind of really,
Well, I'm just wondering, so you pointed to your two hands, because some people are listening to the podcast, but I just wanted to explain those two hands got you
yeah.
into trouble and got you out of trouble, I'm sure. Uh, was was that a key factor in helping you become a successful realtor? The fact that you have a background in building, in giving people trust when you're showing them product on the market?
Yes, I definitely think it's helped. I mean, the broker that I kept on running into, and this ended up happening, me going into real estate, that was one of the factors. He says, your contracting background, you're approachable, give it a try, and what do you have to lose, kind of thing. So
Mhm.
that's how I got into it. And I would say it has helped me. Maybe it gives me a little more trust with people, and
Yeah, credibility.
a little bit of credibility, when I'm going looking through, houses or buildings or whatever, and just getting to know more about the construction side of it here, rather than just, taking everything at face value.
Go ahead.
Let's I'm sure our listeners and watchers are curious about, what the process is for buying in Mexico and what the differences are. Like I understand you haven't been a real estate agent in Canada, so it's new to you there, but I'm really curious if you've picked up on or are aware of like what are the differences both in process and in laws or
Practice.
practice between buying a property in Mexico as someone coming from, let's say, Canada or United States, coming to Mexico and buying.
Yeah, it's my understanding too that depending on where you buy, you have a different process because you can be, if you're close to the ocean or not, these are different issues.
Yes, yes, it is. So there's generally kind of two different zones, really. There's the restricted zone, which is within 50 kilometers of water, ocean, 50 kilometers of the ocean, and 100. It's about 100 kilometers within from a federal border. Those are restricted zones, and foreigners cannot purchase property, deed title in hand. So in 1973, the Mexican government kind of saw the wisdom of letting foreigners invest in these areas. So they created the what they call the fideicomiso. And basically what it is the property is held in a trust with a bank, a regulated bank that is authorized to hold trusts. And you are, the
A
trustor
trustee.
of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. And of that property to buy, sell, rent out, um, you know, pass on to
Operate it.
heirs or whatever the case. You're in full control of that property. It is not an
Hmm.
asset of the banks. They are just regulated to hold that
Right.
property.
So, this sounds maybe crazy, but when I was in Venice last year, they had the Venetian price, they had the tourist price, and they had the Italian price. Are there different price structures depending, like if you're an expat versus a local? And when do you officially become a local? Like on the island, I'm not a local still, 25 years later.
Never will be.
Right. Right. Well, there isn't different prices as far as real estate goes. It has been known certain restaurants will have, uh, a English menu and a Spanish menu, and the English menu, the prices are a little bit higher. And they can put that to that, well, it costs us more to have those menus translated, or it's high season, low season, they'll have a different menu. uh, but in most cases, no, the prices are just what the prices are.
Okay.
Are there any kind of foreign buyer tax, or putting it through the trust must increase some cost, probably minimal, when you're talking the larger price of a
Yes,
property
yeah,
outright?
it does to increase to set up the trust, and it's a little bit longer process. So basically, how it works is once you have found a property that you want to purchase, it's a 10%. You write the offer is accepted, and it's 10% of the purchase price is sent to escrow within kind of max 10 days.
Mhm.
And just like any um, offer to purchase agreement, you have in there contingencies of what you want to see. You want to have a home inspection done, and of course, you always have in there that you want to see the condo regime and minutes and everything else. And so, if any of those things come back and you don't agree with, then just like you're out of the transaction. Your money is sent back from escrow. But if you continue on, everything looks good, you're looking at about 60 days to close on that property. If it's a Mexican national selling to a Mexican national, vice versa, I mean, they'll close properties in 30 days. But because of the the factor of setting up the trust and everything, that does add some time.
Now,
Okay.
in Victoria here, in BC, we recently lost the right to have short-term rentals. Our legislation dropped that. But I'm assuming that you probably got a portion of your clientele that are buying but not moving to live there. They're buying as investment. Is there kind of a how is the Airbnb industry there, and is it regulated by is there any government legislation overseeing anything? What's the how is it look as an investment if someone was to say, Rob, I want to buy one of these units, but I'm only going to be there a month a year?
Yeah, a majority of the property that's purchased down here is only occupied by the owner, part of the time, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, maybe even up to 6 months. And as far as restrictions go, that's been a lot of my inquiries lately of people going, hey, what are the restrictions down there for Airbnb and such? And there are none. The only restrictions you're going to find here is the property might have a minimum 3-day rental. I've seen all the way up to there's one property building that I know of, they have a minimum 2-month rental. But other than that, 3 days a week, no pets, those are the only restrictions you're going to find here. I mean, this is pretty much driven by the vacation rental industry, right?
Absolutely.
So is there a property manager that works within the building, or do you hire your property manager separately, and do they charge a percentage of the rental income?
Yes. So there's both. There are some developments where they have kind of in-house management for you, but that is not the norm. Most of it is that you are working with an outside agency that manages that property for you. And that can look anywhere from them just doing simple, like letting visitors in and out and arranging the cleaning, all the way up to that you have totally no input whatsoever. They're doing all the advertising, they're handling everything, and you can expect to pay 20 to 25% for that.
Yeah, which is not unreasonable considering. So do you find people are actually breaking even, profiting, having to support a little bit if they're?
That's one of the main questions you always get is, what's the return on investment look like? And there are just so many factors here that judge that, because, are you on the beach? Are you a kilometer away from the beach? Are you talking about a $250,000 investment, or are you talking about a $2 million investment? And there is such a wide variety of factors that contribute to it all, that it's really hard to peg it down.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I've seen anywhere from people saying 8 to 12% is what they're returning on a strictly, this is an investment, I don't need to stay there, all the way down to, I do mostly long-term rentals and I'm getting about 2.8%.
Yeah.
So, it's you got to look at it in a little bit different way here. A lot of this is more of a lifestyle investment. You are purchasing a property in hopefully in a place that you'd like to go visit. So you're going out, spending there a couple of months, and you want to make sure that all the expenses of the property are paid. And if you can put 3% back in your pocket, you're happy with that. It's your second home, kind of a vacation home kind of thing. Or, there's the different factors that get you up into that higher range of return.
We tell people here in Victoria quite often that are looking for an investment property that they're probably not going to make a great return on investment in terms of their annual income out of the property, but their property appreciation over time is going to be where they're going to make their money. I suspect we're probably seeing some pretty big growth in pricing.
Yes, especially in the last, since we moved here in the last 3 years, the trajectory has been quite steep. But if you look at it overall, I was just looking at, and from 2018 to end of 2023, it's kind of just a steady growth of appreciation. So in 2018, a property selling for 300, the average sale price was like $300,000 US. We're always talking US dollars down here, $300,000 US dollars. To 2023, the average sale price is $435,000. And
Did
it's
you
been
say
kind of just a steady
$300,000? 300 or 200?
$300,000, 300,000, 2018.
Yeah.
And for 2023, we see 435,000 as the average sale price. A little dip in there in 2020, of course, but other than that, a steady increase.
Where are you finding that the investors are coming from? Are they Canadians? Like are they Canadians on the West Coast, or are they Americans, or are there Europeans coming to Mexico? I know some people privately who have gone down to sort of look at having a lifestyle down there and just kind of giving up living in Canada. And you mentioned in one of your blogs about the fact that healthcare is great there. You had a full physical. I'm just wondering, where are the people coming from, and how are they finding it once they're there?
Yeah, I mean, it really is a mixed pot of Europeans, Canadians, Americans, predominantly Canadians and Americans. I probably find most of, my business is with Canadians, and it's from coast to coast. And of course, I probably have more exposure in the BC area, but I would say 85% of the clients that I deal with are Canadian, and the rest being pretty much the U.S. I mean, very small percentage that of my clients have been like local Mexican nationals.
Perhaps we could rephrase the question and be, less about where are people coming from, but what is maybe the demographic, or is it primarily
50
retirees?
plus?
Yeah, so there's a difference. There's a big difference in that as well. Where it used to be definitely retirees and getting ready, purchasing that second home. They want to go spend 6 months of the winter down somewhere is warm, and we're still seeing a lot of that, or getting ready for retirement completely, and they know this is where they want to retire. But we're seeing in the last few years more and more younger families, and I'm talking younger families with 6, 7, 8, 9 year olds and relocating. They're either, cashing out as we did, or they are, taking some investment at, or just coming down here and renting, but enrolling their children into the private school system down here, and just kind of looking for that, simpler, quieter way of life. And we're starting to see that a lot. Right down our road, there's a private school, and it's funny when you're seeing the kids get out, you see how many of those people are it's expats.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Do you need to speak Spanish to live there?
No, you don't need to speak Spanish. It is, English is very predominant, but of course, it definitely helps. And they love it when, the locals love it when you are showing at least you're trying, right?
Mm-hmm.
But hey, I'm my Spanish is nothing to speak of yet. I'm having a hard time, retaining that in this old head. But but it's other, my wife and I really want to learn the language, just out of a respect thing too. We're living in this country.
So Canadian of you. I have two questions. One is about reporting income. I guess if you are an investor in Mexico and you have an income coming from a property, how do you report that on your Canadian taxes? And secondly, how do you become a realtor in Puerto Vallarta? I'll be down in a couple weeks.
As far as taxes, I am as far as away from an accountant as you can get. But when you're investing here and reporting back, you're either reporting back that you have paid your taxes here. You cannot be taxed twice. and that has something to do with, agreements between the countries and such, but you cannot be taxed twice. And a lot of people fear that, I'm going to have to pay tax there, then I'm going to have to pay tax back here. No, you will be taxed in either country, and most of the time you're paying the tax here and you're just reporting that back to Canada. Even if you're selling the property, that's all within the paperwork that shows that you paid, taxes, capital gains, or whatever the case may be.
So Rob,
And how do you go ahead?
Sorry, go ahead, Jane.
No, you're going to ask about becoming a realtor, right?
Well, it was more that your range is Puerto Vallarta, etc. What is your range, and do you have a network if someone wanted to buy, for example, let's say in Cancun or something? What can someone call you, contact you, and you can connect them up?
Yeah, absolutely. Keller Williams has a very strong presence all across Mexico. So even though I don't work in the areas of, say, Cancun and such, just like any agency, franchise, or whatever the case, we can connect you with somebody over there. But my area here that I'm dealing with is, of course, the Puerto Vallarta area, and then the state of Nayarit is only a 20-minute drive, and then you're in the state of Nayarit. People know as Nuevo Vallarta, Bucerías, Sayulita, San Pancho. That's all in Nayarit. So I probably I would say I'm pretty maxed at about 2 hours north of here, getting into places like La Panita, it's called, and such. But so in Vallarta area in Nayarit.
So, obviously you're driving on the roads. I've spent a lot of time more on the East Coast, and there are lots of guys driving around with big semi-automatics or automatic guns. What are the roads like there, and how safe is it? I know that's one of your popular questions.
Yeah, well, that's one thing about the Vallarta area too, and that is infrastructure. Because of the such strong tourism and everything, there's a lot of investment in new highways, toll highways going from here to Guadalajara and such, and going north, and maintaining the highways is getting better all the time. Still local right downtown, you're driving on cobblestone streets, and they probably will never change that. It just adds to the, kind of the beauty of it, right? And as far as like, guns hanging in the windows and stuff like that, in the back of a pickup truck, those days are pretty much gone. But in Mexico here, as far as that, it is actually, opposed to probably what a lot of people think, it's very difficult. When I was a lot younger, I used to hunt and everything. I got out of that years and years ago, but I was just brought up like that with my father hunting and stuff. And, it's very difficult to obtain a firearm down here, opposed to what maybe people probably think. In Mexico, there's guns on every corner that you can buy. It is just not like that. I would say it's very close to Canada in what you have to go through to be able to obtain a firearm, and whether it's a restricted firearm or not.
Okay, and you feel safe
And
traveling
as far
around the
as safety
countryside?
goes, I tell you, and I'm not just saying this because I live here, but I could go downtown every night downtown and shoot you a video of a couple of little old ladies walking with their purses and going to watch the dancing in the square, and it's 9:30 at night and they're coming back and they're catching a Uber, or they're getting on a bus, or whatever the case may be. It is very safe in the Puerto Vallarta area, especially.
Okay,
I was
go
reading
ahead.
through your Jane sent some information about, I guess, maybe it was a blog post, but talking about, the costs of medical and, just the amenities that you have down there compared to Canada, and just, it's really night and day in many ways. And so almost makes a lot of sense for someone who is dealing with medical expenses or looking for better access to healthcare to go somewhere where the healthcare, yes, you're paying for it, but you're not paying much and you've got really high quality. Last year I went on a cruise with my partner. We were, 10-day cruise, and we talked to a lot of people. It was our first cruise, and they were a lot of retirees saying, like, we have made this lifestyle where we will just cruise for our entire lives now, we just book cruise after cruise after cruise after cruise because we've got access to healthcare, we got great food, and we got a changing scenery all the time. And it's
Yeah.
cheaper than living in Canada or United States or wherever they were living. I
Yeah.
kind of get the feeling that this is a similar kind of lifestyle option for someone who has got that kind of mindset.
Yeah. I mean, medical tourism itself is very popular here, but as far as just basic medical and everything, I've never seen anything like it or ever experienced anything like it. The quality of care and the costs, like, I mean, we don't have, I mean, we probably should have some extended kind of medical on that, but we haven't yet. And we just on a pay-as-you-go system, and it's so cheap. And like, I know we don't have a lot of time, but I'll give you a real quick example. um, After my wife's surgery, we kind of just we booked it out of Canada, and she never really did have a follow up. And so, anyways, make a long story short, we wanted to have a follow up. So I sent an email to uh, to the neurosurgeon, like spine clinic here, and the head of neurosurgery emailed me back. I think the next day it was, and he said, you know, send me medical records and everything like that. We emailed him all her medical records that we had, uh, messaged with him the next day, and he made an appointment. We had an appointment with him 2 days later with the head of neurosurgery. We met at his office. He went through her records and said, I'd like to do another, you know, CAT scan, MRI, all this kind of stuff, and said, yeah, you know, we're available anytime. Just let us know. On his piece of paper, he says, here, go across the street to the CMQ hospital. We went across there, like very nice facility, like very modern. Went in there. She got all the testing done, and he told us to come back after that. So an hour later, an hour and a half later, we're back at his office. 15 minutes later, we're in his office, and he spends about 45 minutes with us going through everything. That cost, for that whole thing, that cost us about, I think it was $600
Oh my
Is
for
that
God.
all
US
of that.
dollars, just to be clear?
Yeah, no, we kind of broke it down to Canadian dollars because that's
Okay.
when we were still doing that. We try not
Yep.
to do that anymore.
Right.
But yeah, that was about $600, and that all took place over 3-4 days.
And compare and contrast that to here in Canada, where if you want an appointment, good luck, first of all, getting through to someone, then getting someone to call you back, and then getting the appointment. Yes. And then,
Yeah,
oh
well,
boy.
you know, waiting for that surgery for my wife. We did look at trying to get her down here, but it was how do you get her down here? But the only reason why it was 11 months is because I just wouldn't quit rattling cages, and finally found, because the first appointment time we got, now remember this was at the beginning of the pandemic, our first surgery appointment was for 2023.
Right.
Oh,
And
goodness.
COVID
So
really threw everything, like it
mhm,
just threw everything into out of whack because nobody knew when they were going to be, like appointments were just being canceled left, right, and center.
yeah,
But
Yeah.
so, yeah. But still, even today, it hasn't gotten back.
yeah.
I'm just wondering if we can get to the eye candy.
Yeah, I think we should
Is-
let people know what they can buy. And I actually wanted to, yeah, well, we'll go through this, but I want to also ask you, because you've shared with us a few examples of what's possible. Maybe you could also include in this, what's the cheapest you can buy you would recommend buying some real estate for? What could somebody actually realistically do, and how much down would they need to, it's financing setups and so forth when we're talking through these? I'd love to know more about
Right.
all those options.
You know, just quickly, I guess, there is how can I say, a budget for every investor down here. I have some people locally from Langley right now. He's kind of put his budget at like $240,000 Canadian, and we're finding him properties to choose from at that. Of course, the variety is not as great if you're, looking at a much higher value. But I mean, if you don't need to be, of course, beachfront like you see here, or you're okay with living back away a little ways. I mean, there's 3-bedroom townhouse style condos that are selling for $175,000 US,
Wow.
but you're out a little ways, right?
Mhm.
So do you recommend people get their financing in place, like a line of credit or something in Canada before they go down, get their budget ready so that they can just determine what to spend with you?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, 99% of transactions here are cash. It is a cash, basically a cash industry down here. Now, financing in recent times has been, starting to look a little better. It used to be like 16% and such, but you are now getting, seeing some banks get involved and offering, 9 to 11% area. So you are now starting to see in that 9%. And up area. I mean, it's still not great, but it is starting to get better, and there's more and more choices coming on all the time. So it is just going to start getting better, but cash is king down here.
Mhm. And how
So,
does someone get their cash down to?
mhm.
How does? By the way, if you can, I don't know if you can click on your pictures and stuff. If this, you could probably give us a tour while we ask questions as well. But
Okay, there we go.
but um, but I was curious about getting money from the States or Europe or Canada to Mexico. Is it an arduous process, or is it pretty straightforward?
No, as far as like the purchase process goes, you're having the bank wire that directly. And I've kind of teamed up a little bit with a company called OFX for exchange. Sometimes they can just offer a little bit better rate than what your bank. I mean, your local bank is going to be probably the most, let's say, that not the best rate. So using an exchange company in between is always probably a little better. So, they'll wire that from your personal bank to the exchange company. They do the exchange for you, and then they send that to the escrow account here.
So what I'm
There's
getting,
Bank of Nova Scotia as well, though, that banks down there.
Yeah, so these banks that you see down here, HSBC and that, they're really not affiliated with the HSBC. You would think but they're really not affiliated. They don't really work together across the borders.
Okay.
just judging from like based on our conversation and the questions I'm asking and the answers you're giving, I can see that you are a one-stop shop solution here. You're able to find solutions for people to these various problems that they might imagine they would encounter buying in Mexico. You have really found ways to streamline it all, and so folks reach out to Rob because he's been answering all our questions with glowing, whatever the word is, but he's doing a great job.
Recommendations?
Yeah, a great job of answering the questions and showing that there is a solution to all of this. And it sounds like, I mean, I'm almost ready to pull the trigger and sell everything.
Well,
And,
I guess, the great thing is we recently just did all this, right? We sold everything and we went through the whole process, moving down here, purchasing property. We just recently purchased a lot as well. We're going to build. So we've just recently done all this, getting our residency, getting utilities set up, getting a bank account. So we've been able to go through all these processes of the immigration and everything very recently. So what I've done is I've just kind of gone back to those people that I dealt with in those banks, the immigration person, and saying, hey, listen, this is what I'm doing. I'd like to stay in contact with you, help out the people that, I'm bringing here as investors or moving here, whatever the case may be. And so I've kind of just trying to put together
Create
this
a group.
little, create
Dream
this little
team.
group. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that I can,
I think we both work the same way, right? Andrew?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, if they do well for you, they're on the list, and if they don't do well for you, they're off the list, right?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. I
So let's do
think
some property.
we're at 45 minutes, and I mean, I could do this for another hour, but we both have to go and get going to our real jobs. So, how do people get in touch with you, Rob?
Actually, Jane, can we just give Rob a few minutes to show us the properties? Because we haven't really had a good review of those. Do you really have to go, Jane?
Hey, why don't we set another time up and we can
Okay.
go through some properties and such
Right.
like that. I'm totally open to that, and we can kind of get through more of what are people looking at, and what's their money going to buy them. We could set that another time up if that's all good with you.
Sounds great to me.
That's good with me, because then I
Yeah.
think we could get a more fulsome explanation. And actually, if you can get on your cell phone or send somebody around on a cell phone, we could put them on and do a tour of the properties while you're maybe in your office or whatever. Maybe your wife could help you out.
Right.
We'll work it out.
Yeah, we'll
Okay, so
figure out something.
how do
But to
people
get a
get in
hold of
touch with
me,
you?
yeah, the robert.bailey@kwmexico.mx is probably the best. My Instagram account is like, we're all over that. And as you see on the screen there, Rob Bailey _Vallarta Real Estate. You can find us on Instagram. And we're always posting properties and information. And we try to do, a really good job at that to, people can follow that and learn a lot.
Okay, thank you.
Beauty.
And so we're just going to say goodbye now, because we're just going to finish off the show. So I
Okay.
want to thank you for coming today. I really
No,
appreciated it.
Thank you. Yeah.
Awesome. I mean, you have a high trust factor. I found you on Instagram looking for a client. I also found somebody else who they connected with, unfortunately, before they met you. But I'm happy to refer you. And if you guys ever want somebody, please get in touch with us. We'll connect you with Rob and help you find your ideal realtor in Puerto Vallarta.
Right. Great.
Yeah.
Thanks so
All right.
much.
Thank you, Rob.
All
Okay.
right.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Great chatting with
Bye.
you. See you later.
All right, Andrew.
Yeah, well,
So
needs and wants. Oh boy. Are we doing that? Okay, so I need a single family fixer-upper starter kind of home in Colwood Machosen area. I don't know if you saw that property listed on Barrow Road recently. I went through it. It was needed a lot of work. But these
yes.
folks were inquiring about that because that's the kind of thing they're looking for, is something that's affordable and rural. But these are the folks. Yeah, anyway, go with that. I've got people looking for investment property, probably Langford, Colwood area, but really pretty much anywhere as long as it's got a good investment kind of aspect to it. Folks looking for preferably waterfront or really great water views out in Sydney area. I've got folks looking for single family home, 4 beds, 3 baths, up to 1.1, 1.2 in the Langford Colwood area. That's a quick one. I've got others as well. I'm sure you do. So let's hear from you. I don't have listings coming up right now.
Okay. Well, we have a short-term rental coming up on Baird in Port Renfrew. This is going to be priced at $825. It's 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. It's one house away from the water, but it does have water views. It's really nicely done, and it's got good revenue. So if anybody's looking for a short-term rental, that's coming up. We're going to go live this week because the whole world has stopped in Victoria. We're waiting till next week. We have another listing coming up. It's on Stillwater, 7 Stillwater. This is a 4 bedroom, a 2 bathroom home. It's an older character kind of type home, 1950s or 60s type home. It's on a large lot, so there'll be potential in the future for development of it. And it's close to the highway off Helmkin. And that will allow for immediate possession. And what else do we have going on? I have somebody looking for kind of higher end home with a suite. Again, we've actually narrowed our criteria down to Colwood. So if anybody's interested, we're moving it out of the large lot and more into a Colwood, so it's more, I guess, doable for the family. And yeah, we expect, we're looking for properties up in Arbutus Ridge for a couple of clients now. We have 3 clients looking up there. So if anybody's
Beautiful
interested.
area. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great option for someone who doesn't need to be in Victoria area. The only complaint I've had from people, because it is a little secluded, is, proximity to hospital and shopping. But it's such great views and such a beautiful complex.
Well, it's 10 minutes away from Mill Bay and about 15 away from Duncan. It's definitely not a walking community for sure.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So how do people reach you, Jane?
Oh, thank you, Andrew. They can reach me at 250-744-0775. My email is briarhillgroup@gmail.com. We are on the web at briarhillgroup.com. And you can watch these videos and more at victoriarealestateshow.com. I'm also on Instagram as realtyteacher_remax_Victoria. And we have a new handle, which is Briar Hill Group.
Oh, perfect. Easy.
Easy.
Easy
Okay.
peasy.
How do people
Okay.
reach you?
Well, my handle is Plank Andrew on Instagram. And my phone number, 250-360-6106. Call or text. Email is info@andrewplank.com. And check out the website, andrewplank.com, for my business directory and various resources. And Jane and I are both, working different brokerages. We both have our own business. We both have our own team. And we're both available to serve you. Whoever you feel you're connecting with, feel free to reach out to one of us or interview both of us, then we can compete. But
yeah, and don't forget to tune in.
We do this because we're a real estate brother and sister, and we really enjoy doing this. And we appreciate you coming and watching. Thank you.
Yeah. And we're on every Thursday at 9:30. We're live. So with all of our foibles and mistakes and stuff, you get to see the real us, and hopefully we come across well. If you see any information or listen to any information that you want, please feel free to share the show, and don't forget to recommend us to your friends. We want to work with clients just like you. All right. Take care, everybody. We'll see you next Thursday. Have a great week. Bye, Andrew.
Bye, Jane. Bye, everyone.